Okay, so I think we can start. Can you all hear me fine? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, super. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining today on this event about renewable energy communities within the framework of the ETU initiative. So I'll just give you a quick overview, some context of the ETU initiative. So for those of you who are not involved, it began in 2019, and it's based on the experience of working for 3 years with 6 modular projects. So the Interreg Renewable Energy Project worked with 6 municipalities across the Mediterranean. They were all in rural and island areas, and they worked for 3 years to establish renewable energy projects and policies. And after these 3 years, they each developed tools to help other municipalities to do the same. So these tools we now refer to as the ETU initiative, the ETU toolbox. And the ETU initiative emerged as a way to mainstream these and to encourage other municipalities to do the same. So the unique feature of the ETU toolbox is that it takes a more holistic approach. So it's not just a guidebook for setting up solar panels, let's say, although that is part of it. We have 4 main pillars. And so, I mean, there are tools for each of these pillars, and some of them are referring to energy facilities, which is the more technical part, energy governance, which is making sure that each municipality has the legal and political frameworks in place, energy planning, which are ways to help the municipalities create a longer term roadmap for the energy transition, and then energy communities, which is what we'll talk about today. And so that's the ETU toolbox. A little bit about the activities of the ETU initiative. As I said, we set it up as a way to mainstream the tools, but the way that we've been doing that is that we've established 5 regional groups. So in the countries we work in, which is Spain, Italy, Greece, Croatia, and Slovenia. And we carried out a training session within these regional groups. There were groups of municipalities who showed interest in the initiative, and we spent 3 months giving them trainings on each of the ETU tools. And following this, in February this year, we then we opened a call for any municipalities in the region who are interested in the initiative. They could apply to become flagship cases. And these flagship cases are municipalities that would receive direct support from us. So they would receive, say, tutoring from the experts within the Interreg Renewable Energy Program. They would receive direct support for them to carry out tools or projects that they already had in mind. So the reason we've chose to give a lot of focus to renewable energy communities is that when we got together and the 9 flagship cases we selected, we could really tell that most of them were very interested in renewable energy communities. And so for those of you who are perhaps a little bit less familiar with these, the renewable energy communities are groups of normally neighbours or people that choose to get together to produce energy together, to set up facilities nearby to share the energy that is produced, and this has many benefits, which we'll go into in more detail in a moment. But renewable energy communities can sometimes reduce the costs of energy because they're not relying on the national grid; they're producing energy close to their home, and so that can help address the issue of energy poverty, which is still an important problem in many areas. And I think one of the most important benefits actually is the social benefits. So if neighbours are coming together for this benefit, for this becoming energy self-sufficient, let's say, that can really strengthen community ties. So it can create a sense of belonging, really brings together neighbours. So I think that's an important benefit of renewable energy communities. So I say of the 9 flagship cases, 4 of them have renewable energy communities now. And 2 of them were already established before they joined the ETU initiative, which is Magliano Alpi in Italy and Achille in Spain. And then there are 2 more flagship cases that have set up renewable energy communities since they joined the initiative, and that is Stavroula in Italy and Vallemas in Spain. So today we're going to be hearing from 3 of these. And So I'll introduce the three representatives that'll be representing the ETU initiative renewable energy communities. And it's Sergio Olivero, who's the president of the scientific committee of the renewable energy community of Magliano Alpi in Italy. Bruno Chichero, who is engineer for the municipality of Ragusa, and Jose Miguel Granados, who's the technical coordinator of the renewable energy community of Monachil. So first of all, I'll give the floor to you, Sergio. Go ahead if you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Well, my speech will be about the renewable energy community, energy city hall of the city of Magliano Alpi, where renewable energy community represent a tool to get a greener future and local sustainable development. Magliano Alpi is a small city in northwestern Italy, near the border with France, in the province of Cuneo. In December 2020, in Magliano Alpi, the first Italian renewable energy community was created in compliance with the European directive RED II adopted by the Italian government. The REC of Magliano Alpi is a member of REScoop, and it is managed according to a cooperative model that is oriented to creating local service supply chains for energy transition. By this year, by November, 2 additional renewable energy communities will be activated. The reason is that today there is a limitation for RECs for the members to be connected to the same medium voltage, low voltage substation. So since we have a lot of citizens asking to enter, we are obliged to create multiple RECs. These should change in the second half of next year with the final adoption of RED II directive. Well, this is a picture of Magliano Alpi. Well, we have to be aware that according to the Italian regulation, a renewable energy community is a private law entity that is based on a participation that is open and voluntary. It is autonomous, and the requirement is that the members are located near the production facilities. The members can be natural persons, small and medium enterprises, local authorities, including municipalities. So RECs are at the base of innovative public-private partnership models. The primary objective of a REC is to provide environmental, economic, or social benefits that is wider than just providing energy. For that reason, REC can be the organizational and technical catalyst of sustainable local development models based on energy transition. This is the so-called GO-Chair, that is operational group for renewable energy community in Magliano Alpi. The focus is on the REC that become the catalyst of local ecosystems made by designers, installers, builders, maintainers. That is local people and enterprises working on energy that thanks to the REC's implementation can see their business increase. So the municipality has the role of independent guarantor, can clearly also be a member of the REC. The GO-Chair, that is this cluster of designers and enterprises, create local supply chains and with a defined competitive advantage because a renewable energy community is eligible for incentives, but only enterprises and designers that are capable to design and build a REC can really work on that. So this is a booster for business at local level. Citizens and companies know whom to contact. It is really important also to raise awareness, because if you see a face, it is better than if you just call a call center. There are three relevant recent achievements. The RECO Mariano Alpi is now a community partner of the Italian Forum of Energy Communities. It is the founding partner of Atenes, that is an association to promote energy self-consumption at Italian national level, and it is also a partner of REScoop. Well, we have to know that thanks to thanks to tax bonuses and incentives, there's a lot of money today in Italy on energy communities. So these resources, if they are used with a redistributive and not only predatory logic, are capable of supporting the local economy, creating business, creating jobs, and also favoring the repopulation of small towns. The Clean Energy Package of the European Commission, that is the set of directives, including RED II directive, puts the citizen prosumer at the center of the energy transition. So the directives on energy communities, both the RED II, but also the 944 on citizen energy communities, can be considered a tool to give voice to citizens in the definition of a new model of sustainable development. And the Mariano Alpi's renewable energy community proposed itself as a catalyst for this process of rethinking the energy-driven business models, where energy transition is a way to create tangible benefits for local communities. The municipality of Mariano has recently signed agreement with more than a dozen of other municipalities in Piedmont and in other regions in order to help these cities to be quicker in the design and activation of REC. So Mariano Alpi is practically now creating a network of RECs at Italian level, where the role of citizen in the energy transition process is highlighted. I thank you for your attention. Obviously, I am available to answer your question. You can find my email, and I will be glad to reply to your questions. Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much, Sergio. So, Mariano Alpi was really a pioneer, let's say, in establishing renewable energy communities. So thank you for that. I'll just quickly say, if you have any questions, you can just put them in the chat and we'll address those after the speakers have done their presentations. So next, I'll pass the floor to Bruno Chichero, and he's an engineer from the municipality of Ragusa.
Morning, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen now? Okay, morning, everyone. Speaking today also on behalf of Carmelo Di Citra, this is the energy manager, municipality of Ragusa. And I'm speaking today about our work on the renewable energy community project in Ragusa in Sicily, and I'm also going to share our experience within the ETU initiative as a flagship case. So let me briefly introduce the municipality of Ragusa. It is a municipality of about 73,000 inhabitants, and it is geographically one of the largest municipalities in Italy. It spans from the coast to the E-range on the Iberian E-range, covering a largely diversified territory. So we got the sea, hills, and different urban areas. Ragusa is also included in the UNESCO World Heritage List thanks to the extraordinary historical architecture of the city center. Here are a few examples of the territories that are covered within the municipality of Ragusa. Ragusa has been recently committed in energy transition, and for that reason has been promoter and partner of several projects aiming at the social, financial, and environmental improvement of both urban and rural areas. Also, municipality of Ragusa has issued recently a CCAP, that is a Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan, to define the short, medium, and long-term strategies for the ecological response to climate crisis. In the CCAP, one of the most important strategies is the implementation of renewable energy communities, as this is seen as a great chance to discourage the use of fossil fuel and to contrast energy poverty phenomena. In particular, 10 renewable energy communities pilot projects have been identified, most of them located within the main urban area of Ragusa, but some of them also located in the surroundings, so in the rural areas around it. Comune di Ragusa also is developing renewable energy communities as a first step to implement other strategies, such as the electromobility of the sustainable mobility. That is another topic Ragusa is dealing with, and for that reason, recently issued the Sustainable Urban Transport Plan. Just to give an idea of the commitment of Ragusa, this is a long list of actions and agreements that were released and finalized by Comune di Ragusa since 2018. So it's a long list, and this is going to grow in the next period. I will now introduce the renewable energy project in San Giacomo, which is the one that joined the ETU initiative. San Giacomo is a rural village located about 15 kilometers away from Ragusa's main urban area. It counts around 500 inhabitants, and it has been chosen as a suitable site to accommodate renewable energy communities thanks to the rural nature of the area that is characterized by an objective resilience that makes energy transition projects easier. Also, being a small center, there's already a strong sense of belonging of the community established. So it's easier to implement collective energy production models, as there's already an organization and collaboration between citizens. The project consists of a 20 kilowatt photovoltaic system owned by the municipality installed on the public school buildings of the village. The energy produced will be distributed between the school building itself and around 10 residential buildings and private businesses in the area. Already, Comune di Ragusa launched a public call to find potential members, and a positive feedback, positive response was sent by San Giacomo's community. This is the school building. As you can see, it has a large roof that is suitable for the installation of photovoltaic panels. And also, it is one of the few public buildings within the village. So the project not only is important from an environmental point of view, but also from the social point of view, as this building aims at becoming not only the civic center of the community, but also the energy core of the community. Regarding the ETU initiative, when we applied for the ETU initiative, we realized that the renewable energy project in San Giacomo was perfectly aligned with the principle of the project, as it is an ecological response to the climate crisis, using renewable energy sources and smart management of the energy. It also contributes to territorial equity through the no-profit nature of renewable energy community model. And it also contributes to social innovation by implementing new technologies through which the community cooperates for the production, management, and consumption of energy. It also boosts green economy by enabling the creation of new forms of governance in the energy sector, and also supports cooperation by directly involving citizens. Their awareness about sustainability is also increased, and they are supported by the municipality in their new role of active consumers and producers of energy. During the ETU initiative, Ragusa took advantage of all the tools that the ETU offered. They are multidisciplinary, so it was very, the support was very useful to develop the project. To take maximum advantage of these tools, we decided to use some of the tools for the entire municipality, as they are tools that are more suitable for larger scale projects, while the others were used for the project in San Giacomo only. So for the entire municipality, we used Local for Grid Plus for the identification of potential fiscal policies about renewable energy sources, and Prismi Plus that is useful to develop new energy scenarios. These tools was particularly useful as is the opportunity to get a critical analysis and also numerical feedback about strategies that were proposed in the recently issued CCAP. For San Giacomo, we used Pegasus for the assessment of the creation of a smart grid in San Giacomo, Stores to evaluate the drawback and advantages of using energy storage systems, and also Compose as a database of guidances and tutorials to maximize the success for energy project about sustainability in rural areas. We were lucky enough also to join the other activities in the ETU initiative, such as the crowdfunding coaching. These were a series of sessions through which we explore non-conventional funding methods. We actually were more in depth after the crowdfunding sessions, and we decided to apply this method in our real case project, in our real world project. Through the crowdfunding coaching, we were able to identify objectives for the crowdfunding campaign, the economic goal we aimed at reaching, the model of the crowdfunding campaign that is currently a reward-based model. And also we start planning the communication campaign. We did the crowdfunding, and we established a strong team to face both the campaign and the project itself, both before, during, and after the crowdfunding. So this is my last slide, and I wanted to highlight the obstacles we are facing in the development of the project, and how the ETU initiative is helping us to face these issues. First one is data gathering. So we realized that residential buildings in Ragusa, especially the ones in rural areas, are not equipped with smart meters. So data with enough resolution to get accurate observation about consumption and production of energy are not available. So ETU experts, through their tools, helped us to get significant output even with monthly data. So this was very useful to make consideration about planning and design of the renewable energy community. The other problem is the legal framework. So the Italian legal framework and regulation about renewable energy communities is still new and is under continuous development. Sometimes it's not 100% clear. So in the ETU context, Ragusa was able to share insights and ideas with experts and other municipalities that have already previous experience of renewable energy communities, and others that are facing our same issues. So this was very useful just to share opinions. And last one is funding. It's not always easy to get funds for energy transition projects, even because Ragusa is a large municipality, so it's sometimes cut out from incentives coming from the public incentives. For that reason, ETU proposed non-conventional funding methods such as the crowdfunding I mentioned before. So ETU initiative was very useful to face all these problems in San Giacomo, but this is useful because all the solutions to this problem are considered to be lesson learned for the future renewable energy projects we are going to develop in the future. Thanks. I think you're mute, Lara. You're on mute, I think.
Typical problem, yeah, of 2020, 2021, people talking to themselves. I said, thank you. It's really great to see what's happening and how we've been able to support these projects, and really hope that in the future these projects will be happening everywhere. But great work, thank you. So last but not least, I'm going to pass the floor to Jose Miguel Granado. He's the technical coordinator of the renewable energy community of the Monachil River. So the floor is yours. Super.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to share the screen.
Yeah, super.
Yeah, okay. My name is Jose Miguel Granados. I am from Cooperacy, an energy cooperative who is leading this energy community. Is from Monachil, but also from Cajar, another town close. So we got this energy community from the Monachil River, since it's very, we have 4 towns that are really close. This is a picture of Monachil. We are in the south of Spain. Yeah, we started last year. We got the prize from Sonenergia COP 57. So with this prize, we got the money to start developing this energy community for 3 months. Well, more months, but in 3 months, we got the constitution of the energy community. In Spain, we don't have for the moment the legislation for energy communities, but since there is an European law, we got an association with the same principles. They will have the new legal figure. So the functioning of the energy community, we have in Spain this law for 500 meters for energy sharing. So you can be a consumer, you can be a producer, or you can be an investor. And you do this installation, and in 500 meters, you can share the energy to others. We also have the municipality itself who has installations, or they can share the roof. That's why we got this association. So we signed an agreement with the council, so we can build a PV installation at council roofs, and we can share to the members of the community. We did a lot of meetings and explanations during the COVID situation. Also, I mentioned about this council roof session approval. Is a first step. So in following steps, we can sell the energy. Right now we have this roof from the council. We produce the energy, and now we are struggling with the administrative part, so we can share the energy to the members and also to the city council. But this energy for the city council will be for free until we get this second step where the council can connect with the energy community. That's why it's important our legal figure that show the administration that it's possible to be part of an energy community. We started with the EUSEW initiative in April. Since that, we are working with them, so we got more results from more years to come, not only for Monachil, but also for the the 4 towns that are nearby. And also it will be good to have more visibility to be known and to show that it's possible. Maybe it's not the best model or way, but we are trying to prove that it's possible. Right now, until September, we got this city council roof, one city council roof, 10 kilowatts, that will give energy to 15 persons, including the city council, and also 10 installations in households. So we will have like 45 kilowatts that will give energy to 45 members that we are already. Energy poverty is taken into account since a percentage of this energy is shared to energy poverty. This is, you can see Caja, Monachil, and Barrio de la Vega, these 3 towns or parts of the town. So these circles will have 500 meters radius. So with some installation, we can get all the town. Right now, we are trying just to share energy through the administrative and networking or the grid operator. We also would like to be monitoring in some months so the people at home can receive the energy. They can receive the energy, but also they can really use only the energy that are using in order to have really savings of energy. Since if you are using a lot of energy and you are not taking into account the energy you are given from the installation, then you are going to spend a lot of money. So that's, I didn't mention, we have internal agreements for this energy sharing. The money back is done by this internal agreement. So we have a low price comparing with the price these days in Spain. So that's why it's important to really use the energy you are given by the installation. Also, we're having this forum next weekend from the next week. So we can gather a lot of initiatives from the Spain to share all the success and also the problems we got. Regarding barriers and solutions, I mentioned the legal figure. Our solution was this non-profit organization. The barriers from unknown subject and also the community unknown subject regarding PV, even because we have recently in Spain some years that the people thought it was not possible to install solar energy, because you got a lot of problems with administration. So this, together with the energy community, that is a new figure, is we got the solutions is to do explanations and meetings over and over, and also the two initiative to show other cases in Spain and Europe. The operation of the community, the internal operation, and all the things regarding energy communities. We solve by group thinking and also 3 hours from everyone. So this is a thing that we have to be solved if we would like to have energy communities in Spain. There will have to be a new figure to energy management, because if not, it's very difficult to operate an energy community with 3 hours. Also, the finance for the first installation I mentioned, we finally do ourselves by internal investments, but also we have talked with crowdfunding platforms. The next installations will be done through this way. And the important barrier is the administrative or electricity suppliers transactions. I mean, to finally have the energy share is really difficult for the moment, and it takes time and patience, as I put here. Also, the recommendations for our upscaling, it's important to have this pilot installation working. So nowadays we are having some press reviews, and it's good to be known and the people to know that it's working. To have alliances with other energy communities from the social economy, so we share our experiences. Maybe a forum like the one we are doing to again share our experience. And that will be all from my part.
Okay, super. Thank you very much, Jose Miguel. And I'm just we have a quick Q&A. So there have been a few questions coming in, and I'll take a look at these. And let me have a quick look. So the first one is to Jose Miguel from Daguban Sinjan, and he's asking, is electricity cheaper for participants around PV projects?
Yeah, for sure. I mentioned quickly, we have this internal agreement. We have like a third of the price of the most expensive period during the day. We have 3 periods in Spain for the energy, so it will be 1/3 of the price of the period during the sunny hours.
Okay. Okay. And another one, yeah, we'll start with the questions for you. The other one is, what percentage of electricity has been given to energy poor households? How's that being managed?
For the moment, we gave, I think, like 7%, yeah, 7 to 10% of the energy.
Okay. And then for you, last one is, how much funding did you get from the Germinador Social? What was it direct? What exactly was it funding, and where was it coming from?
Well, the money was coming from these 2 energy cooperatives. It was a price of 5,000 euros, but we only got 4,000 euros due to legal money you have to give to the government. And with this money, we did the participatory process, some hours of this operation of the community, also the monitoring. We are saving some money for this monitoring, to buy some equipment. Yeah, I think, and also for the media, I mean the video and so on.
Okay, I see. Thank you. And there are a couple also for Bruno. So the first one, well, it's a similar question. It's a little bit about the price of the electricity. So it was, is electricity cheaper for participants in the school? What is the story there?
Yeah, as Carmel has written in the reply, yeah, shared energy benefits of public incentives. So yeah, but the consumer will benefit up to of a reduction that is up to 20% in the energy cost. It's 12 to 20% reduction.
Okay. Okay, and so if there are any other, if they want to quickly put them in the chat. Okay, and there's another one. Who's this one for? Well, an open question. So whoever has some ideas on this, let me know. Someone is asking if you're using the data generated from the plants, or how are you using the data that you gather?
Well, we are still in the economic and technical feasibility of the project, so we are not on the stage where we can manage the the use of data generated for the plants, as there's no plants yet. So this is something we are going to assess in the future.
Okay. And then I have one that came in from Sergio, and that was, I think you mentioned that in Mariano Alpi there are quite a lot of funds available now in Italy. And yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. I think that's often a challenge for a lot of people, yeah, the funding. So
yes, today in Italy, practically creating a renewable energy community is for free. Because, well, the renewable energy community provides incentives that are roughly 120 euro per megawatt hour, plus the value of energy that is 60 euro per megawatt hour. But at the same time, if a citizen decides to put solar panels on his roof, he gets immediately 50% tax refund for the value. And then, thanks to the incentives, in 6 to 7 years, he can refund the expenses. In case the home is refurbished according and well, enabling a major class leap in the sense that its efficiency grows, they are eligible to the so-called 110% incentive. That is, you pay 100, you get back 110. So the combination of these incentivation schemes make the investment by citizen really for free. At the same time, there are municipalities. The municipality of Mariano Alpi this year had 100,000 euro to spend on energy communities, and will have 50,000 euro per year, 22, 23, 24. So if there's the will, you can easily create renewable energy communities. And the rules are going to improve in the sense that today RECs are limited to the secondary medium voltage, low voltage substation. But starting from the second decade of next year, this will change, so the boundary will be made by high tension transformer. So practically speaking, there's really a set of opportunities to create RECs.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Sorry, one moment. There's just one more question coming in. Yeah, and this is, I think, a topic that is very interesting at the moment is the energy poverty and the role perhaps of renewable energy communities in securing energy supply in the future. So, so for the Italian cases, Sergio, Mariano Alpi and Bruno and Ragusa, do you see any specific actions that will be taking place to address energy poverty? Because, yeah, that's often a big question.
Well, many actions are going to be implemented, also because within the so-called post-COVID resiliency plan by the Italian government, 2.2 billion euros will be made available, are available, and the first tenders will be launched at the end of this year, and the first phase will be worth 250 million euros that will be provided starting from January 2023. So all these projects, I mean just the project related to renewable energy communities, will enable innovative business plans where the fight against energy poverty is a priority.
Okay. Okay. Bruno, if you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, at the moment, no specific action for energy poverty in San Giacomo project is not included, but we should think about project in San Giacomo as a prototype, just to form the basis to create all the other renewable energy projects in Ragusa. So this first project is going to be useful just to solve all the initial issues to create a renewable energy community.
Okay.
So this is going to be something that will be implemented in the future for sure.
Okay. Fingers crossed that these communities can be really a way to combat this issue. And okay, so we'll move on to our second sessions. Now we've had a little bit more about from the two flagship cases and on the ground experience. We'll talk a little bit more about the policy aspect of renewable energy communities. So for us, from the initiative, our vision is that one day, any group of neighbors that feel inspired by the idea of renewable energy communities can easily set up one of their own, and making it a really important part of the energy supply in the future. So in the second session, we're going to look a little bit more, what is the state of the art of renewable energy community policy, what currently exists, and based on the challenges we've heard, what do we need to do now to make this process easier for citizens to set up renewable energy communities. So we have two panelists, and I'm going to be direct. I have some questions directly related to your work, and I'll go alternating between the two of you. Okay, so our two panelists are Stavroula Pappa. She's a policy expert from the REScoop that a couple of you have mentioned. And our second panelist is Achille Hannoset, and he's a policy officer from DG ENER from the European Commission. Hello, thank you. Welcome both of you. And so my first question, I'll share with you, Stavroula. So you can tell us a little bit more about what is it that your work involves, but I believe that it's a little bit more local level, right? So perhaps you could go into a bit more detail about what renewable energy communities can provide to citizens, what you've seen. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Laura, and thank you very much for the invitation for today's session. It's a very interesting first hour of examples. Maybe I can just start with introducing myself and our work in REScoop.eu. So I'm Stavroula Pappa. I'm an energy lawyer, and I work as a project manager in REScoop.eu, which is a European Federation of Citizen Energy Cooperatives. So we have members around Europe. At the moment, we have a bit less than 2,000 energy cooperatives and energy communities in a lot of member states. That represents a bit more than 1 million European citizens at the moment. And that numbers are rising. And already Mariano Alpi from Italy is our member, and I was really happy to see the presentation of Sergio today on the work they're doing there. As a pioneer on the first renewable energy community in Italy. And it was really interesting to see that they are also working on raising awareness in the local community and developing more energy communities. And with regard to, of course, if people are interested in becoming a member of our network, you can feel free to send us a message and contact us to discuss how we can support you in your work and what services we provide to our members. And with regard now to your question and the impact on the local communities, the impact that energy communities can have. And as we will be discussing on the policy aspects, I want to mention first that the main aim of renewable energy communities as set in the European directives is that they will provide economic, environmental, and social benefits to the local community where they operate, rather than profit making. So maybe I can keep this differentiation and mention some of the benefits that I feel that energy communities bring to their local society, starting with some economic benefits for the local community. And it goes without saying that the development of renewable energy projects in the local level means, first of all, that the money stay at the local economy and they do not fly away to purchase fossil fuels. And of course, it's important in terms of security of supply, because there is an increase of local investments on renewable energy. For the members, yeah, as we have seen already, there is a reduction in energy bills. It was discussed it came from the questions on the previous session. So people have access to cheaper energy and renewable energy. And of course, well, for the members, there is also a return on the investment. And as we are talking about renewable energy, there is an obvious environmental benefits, less fossil fuels, more renewable energy production, less reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. And what we have observed also is that the community energy projects contribute to environmental protection, because from the environmental point of view, usually community projects are more accepted by local citizens, and therefore they tend to be more respectful with the local environment where the energy project is set up. And coming to the social aspect of community energy, and I mentioned already that it's something that we usually mention as a first priority, is that when developing renewable energy projects, when the citizens develop renewable energy projects and participate in all the stages of this project, then they do realize the benefits of community energy, and there is a higher social acceptance, which a lot of times is lacking in other cases. There is also, we have a lot of our members active on projects that contribute to the alleviation of energy poverty, and it was already raised, and we actually participate in a Horizon project that focuses specifically on how energy communities can contribute into that. It is called SEAS. We're looking forward to the results of this project. But I also wanted to mention, and we have observed this from also one of our members in Belgium, in EcoPower, that the members of the energy cooperative there have also changed their behavior towards, first of all, clean energy, and also the energy consumption levels are lower compared to consumers in the region that are not members to an energy cooperative, which I find really important in order to reach our goals, the reduction of the energy consumption. I can mention a lot of other things on the social level that I feel that are important in terms of social innovation and very good cooperation between the energy communities and local authorities, as we can have already seen from the examples you presented today. But I also feel that it's important to have some data to back up all these benefits that I mentioned. So I would like to bring to your attention a study, a very recent study. I think it was released last week by YouGov. It was commissioned by the ECF, the European Climate Foundation, and it mapped the public attitudes to wind and solar power in 10 European countries, and Italy and Spain were considered for this study. And what is important to mention is that it revealed a strong support for more renewable energy projects, first of all, and also for direct involvement of people in these projects, in the solar and wind projects. So it has a lot of data that you can all check. I will be happy to send it in the chat. I find it a really nice study, but I will stop here because I feel I talked too much already.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll come back to you in a moment if you want to expand. I'll just give my first question to Achille. And so I think quite different to the REScoop, you're working on a more macro level at the EU Commission. From you, I'd like to know a little bit let's say, the state of the art, as I mentioned. You know, what is the EU's current stance on renewable energy communities? You know, is it at all in discussion? Is there anything in place to support them, or is it not already considered? Yeah, or what do you see in your work?
me first unmute myself to avoid this common mistake. All right, thank you first of all for inviting the Commission to speak at this event. I'll introduce myself as well. Achille Hannoset from DG ENER, Unit B1. We are responsible for consumer issues, just transition and local initiatives. And the consumer umbrella, of course, also encompasses the energy communities. And the way it stands currently, not on the ground, not the empirical reality, but at the macro level, the legal reality, is that we have two concepts. So we have the citizen energy communities and we have the renewable energy communities. The citizen energy communities are in the Electricity Market Directive, renewable energy communities in the Renewable Energy Directive. Now there's a fundamental difference between both of them. The renewable energy communities are more local, while the citizen energy communities can be local, but they can also be more nationwide. And it's an important distinction to make because also Stavroula already mentioned this aspect of social acceptance, and indeed preliminary findings show there is a strong correlation between the locality and the social acceptance of the project itself. The people that are impacted by the installations should also subsequently have a say in the project itself and also be able to benefit from whatever benefits that flow from it. So in the Commission, we strongly believe in these concepts and the central role that they can play in achieving the climate objectives that we set out. Most importantly, there is a threefold split in objectives for energy communities, I think, within the wider policy framework of the Green Deal, which is increasing flexibility in the market. So first of all, they contribute to a cost-effective transition. Second, they facilitate social acceptance of renewable installations, so they can also boost subsequently the renewable energy uptake. And third, they manage to give ownership to the local citizens. And this is a very important aspect as it relates to justice. People that are impacted or affected by the transition should also be given subsequent rights that is only proportionate. And so it fits within the wider framework of facilitating a just transition. Now, I already heard some linkages to energy poverty. And I think I might be expanding here too much, but I also want to make it a bit interactive and just respond to whatever I pick up. The relationship with energy poverty, as it stands, we do envision energy communities at our level as well to play a role there. However, we are aware, and that's also part of the reason why we have these Horizon projects, where we're looking at, okay, how can energy communities really get involved in that field as well? Because the empirical reality, based on some studies that I've consulted, show that energy communities, it's not their primary business to alleviate the energy poor. What is important is to understand is that these communities don't always have a level of consciousness or awareness of what energy poverty means in practice. And preliminary data seems to indicate that it's more a project for people who have some financial capabilities. But even then, the project is entirely, well, the investment comes from the citizens or from non-professional actors. And so there will be a restraint in financial resources that will allow you to subsequently also use the project to give derogations, for example, from shareholder fees to these energy poor to become a member, and then subsequently benefit from the associated derogations. So for EcoPower, for example, I know there is, for the members that are also customers, there is they don't take profit on the energy that they supply. That's great, but first of all, the energy poor needs to be able to become a member, of course, and the shares are mostly too high for them to invest in. And then again, there are derogations possible, but you have to have the financial resources to be able to do so and give these derogations. So that's a side note on energy poverty, but we do see a promising role for energy communities. So I mentioned the Clean Energy Package, the Electricity Market Directive, Renewable Energy Directive, where we already set out this entire framework, and we hope to enable them to participate on a level playing field with the incumbents and the more traditional companies that are having a variety of activities on the electricity and heating and gas market as it stands currently. And for that, we introduce rights that are also associated with those responsibilities. And these rights, they relate mostly to procedures, also to charges and tariffs. And what it does, the legal framework actually reiterates or repeats the principles that are in essence already applicable, but it's highlighted again in these provisions in order to nudge member states into rethinking how currently the legal design applies to these energy markets, and to be conscious of the fact that the legal design was originally based on a few big companies with a vast amount of financial resources at their disposal. And that's not the case for energy communities. So in light of those characteristics, member states should be rethinking some of the legal rules in place currently. Now, aside from the Clean Energy Package, we have the Fit for 55 package that we recently introduced as well. And there we look to strengthen the role of energy communities even further. We recognize their importance in mainstreaming renewable energy in buildings and their potential contribution towards energy efficiency action in the Renewable Energy Directive and the Energy Efficiency Directive, respectively.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's very interesting to hear what's on a wider level, and thank you for also addressing this topic that keeps coming up, the energy policy. So thank you for that. And so I'll send another question to Stavroula. And so from what you've seen in your own work, but also from what some of the flagship case representatives have mentioned, what do you think is still missing in terms of legislative framework? Yeah, what policies do people need for renewable energy communities to become easier to establish?
That's thank you very much, Lara, for the question. That's a very difficult question to address, because but still I can say that a very vital first step and very important first step is for the member states at this moment to transpose the definition, the provisions for energy communities set at the European level. And I'm really happy that Achille set already the scene on that and explained the two different definitions that have been set up on by the EU directives. But I would like to maybe stress a bit what we think as a complete transposition, because it's not only about for the member states to transpose the definitions, so what the renewable energy community is or what the citizen energy community is. What is first and foremost, because we see we are following up in REScoop.eu the transposition, and we see that the common trend among a lot of member states is that they have transposed the definitions at the national level, and that's it for now. I hope they will continue with the transposition, but for example, for renewable energy communities, it is listed in the Renewable Energy Directive that member states should provide an assessment of barriers and potential for energy communities, for renewable energy communities in their state, in their country. And I feel that this is very important, and it's a bit ignored by member states at the moment. It is very important to conduct such an assessment, because we saw already from the previous presentations that they have identified barriers for their work at the national level, and that is important for member states to know these barriers in order to use this knowledge to develop enabling frameworks for energy communities to be able to function and participate in the market, as Achille mentioned before. So we believe that the definition should be transposed. There should be such an assessment of barriers and potential for energy communities. There should be a holistic enabling framework that will allow energy communities, which will address a lot of points. They are listed, for example, in paragraph 4 of Article 22 for renewable energy communities. They should address access to finance, tools for information. There should be a reduction of administrative regulatory barriers. So there's a more holistic approach of points that the energy communities that should be addressed for energy communities to participate in the market. So 3 things so far. And I think it's also very important to pay some attention on paragraph 7, which states that member states should take the specificities and the specific characteristics of energy communities into account when they are developing their support schemes. So I feel that's a very important provision, and member states should keep this in mind, because it is, as Achille mentioned, energy communities are not big companies, are not big players, and they do struggle sometimes to compete with other players in the market. And I would like to mention here also the proposed state aid guidelines that are not final yet, but were released some time ago by the Commission, and they have proposed lowering the thresholds that were in there for small projects. And above these thresholds, all market actors should participate in tenders and in tendering regions, which we are proposing. We did participate in this consultation with REScoop.eu, and we think that this is not a workable model for energy communities, and there should be specific provisions for energy communities there. But I do realize that's a whole other discussion. Maybe it's not, I will not elaborate more on that. We're following up on this work, and I can as well send you our response to this consultation. But in terms of the transposition, coming back to the transposition, I would like to mention that, first of all, the deadline for this transposition has already passed. And we have observed that a lot of member states are laying behind with this work. Mm-hmm. And we have created in REScoop.eu a transposition tracker in order to evaluate, which only focuses though on the definitions. So how we assess how member states have progressed with the transposition of the 2 definitions in several countries. And if I may, we have some time, that I could share my screen just to briefly show you what I'm talking about.
Sure. Yeah, thank you.
Great. So I will also send it in the chat, but I just wanted to give you a brief explanation of what I'm talking about. So you can see it on our website. It is focused on the definitions, as I told you, so not on all the complete aspects of the transposition. And first of all, you can see a map of the different countries where we have appointed colors based on their progress on transposing the definitions. Mm-hmm. So red is bad definition, and dark green is best practice. And there is no dark green at the moment in the map. So not a best practice to share at the moment, though a lot of member states are working hard on the transposition. There is now a section on how to use this tracker with an explanation of what we are doing there and how we have assessed each country's progress. Of course, I would like to mention that this is a living tool, this is a living document, meaning that as the transposition progresses, all the information here will be changing, of course. So, of course, if anyone has any feedback, we are really happy to receive such feedback. and you can click here and see that you can send an email to me and our senior policy officer, Josh Roberts, that we are working on this information. And then we have the countries that we have information on, and I can, for example, choose, maybe I can choose Spain, that we had an example today. So you can click on the country that you're interested in, and there is an overall assessment of the progress of the transposition of the definitions with the color that you can see on the map. And then we did a detailed assessment based on specific criteria. So as Achille mentioned, there are some principles reflected in the European directives, such as open and voluntary participation and autonomy for renewable energy communities. And we have assessed, for example, if these are integrated into the national level and if they are elaborated. So what do they mean at the national level? For example, what the requirement of proximity means at the national level. They should be specified. And we have appointed colors also to this criteria. But yes, I will stop here because there is a lot of information here, but I just wanted to show you this tool, and I will now share it with you in the chat so you can take it on your own time.
I think someone, Jack Van Sinjan, just shared it also on the group, so thank you for that.
It is our president. He's the president of REScoop.eu. He's very active in the chat. Thank you for that.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot to be explored there. So thank you for sharing that with us. And so I have another question for Achille, which is that from the work of DG ENER and the EU, what do you think within their capacity, what do you think the EU, the Commission can do to support the upscaling of renewable energy communities? Or is it more national, or is it something that as a regional organization can be done?
Yes, thank you for that question, and thank you for indeed presenting that transposition check tool. Quite interesting and also very helpful, of course, for our work. And that's first and foremost, I think, what we can do at this stage is to make sure that member states are actually complying with the EU directives as they relate to citizen and renewable energy communities. So that would be our first and primary contribution to their development. In addition, the Commission is currently in the process of setting up an energy community repository and a rural energy community advisory hub. So I think here the clear contribution from our side would be that we, from a regional level, we monitor the effect on the ground of EU legislation. Is the legislation, when transposed, well, also effective on the ground? Because that's a feedback loop that we need just in case that when we revise or review the directives at some stage in the future, we have additional information on how to go about that. And in addition, I think we can also provide technical support in the form of administrative solutions, financing opportunities, and supporting actions. And these particular activities that I just outlined, they are mirrored in these initiatives that I mentioned earlier. So for the Energy Community Repository, the main objective would be to monitor and support the deployment of energy communities across the EU, to foster citizen engagement, and to provide guidance and support for the exchange of best practices across Europe as it relates to energy communities. Of course, taking into account the specific context of the member states in order to assess replicability potential. Now, to set that further apart, we have the first pillar of really monitoring and supporting the deployment of energy communities. I think first and foremost, that would consist out of a mapping of developments of energy communities on the ground. but also the legal and the regulatory and policy framework as it relates to energy communities. So this repository would really be a one-stop shop to see what is going on across Europe and what policies and legal and regulatory interventions exist. In addition, it would also include an identification of most prominent barriers, action drivers, and also recommendations at the local level, but also at the national and the regional level on how to further facilitate the development of energy communities. In the end, of course, what is important if we gather all this data is communication and dissemination. How do we get also this information subsequently all the way? It gets aggregated at the regional level, and subsequently it will need to find its way to the local ground to really have effect. So here it will be important for the repository to really communicate in the diverse languages that exist across Europe, and also adapt to the cultural and social traditions of receiving information and as regards the institutions that are deemed trustworthy in different countries. So that's the first pillar really, and that's quite a chunk already that the Energy Community Repository would do, and this is where we see our contribution materialize as well from the Commission side. The next step would be the identification of best practices. So here we really look at, we want to look at administrative solutions. So models for rules and associations, examples of agreements with distribution system operators, suppliers, aggregators, technological solutions for electricity sharing, access to finance, where can I find financing means and how do I apply for them? All of these information should be aggregated as well and provided to the energy communities or people looking to set up an energy community on the ground. Now that's for the energy community repository. That was the second pillar, so two main pillars. And then the rural energy community advisory hub would also have this aspect. Well, the way I see it, it's kind of like this subsidiary even of that really focuses on the potential in rural areas. And the reason why we have an additional initiative there is because, well, there is more potential in terms of technological solutions. There is more room to build wind farms, biomethane plants. So all of that becomes more possible in the rural areas. In addition, rural areas will also be affected by the energy transition. They also host vulnerable communities, a lot of energy poor and vulnerable people as well. So they deserve an additional attention, and we see a lot of potential for energy communities to come in there and to help them become more self-sufficient in terms of energy, but also to start benefiting from the many benefits that energy communities can produce, as Stavroula already rightfully outlined, such as bringing really the local economy to life, you might say. When I went to EUSEW, and Dirk was there as well, you could really see how the youth would normally they transfer to the city to develop their careers and big city dreams materialize. But this time they were all working there in the energy community, and they were very proud of it as well. And so the community stuck together, and they had a potential to retain the talent coming out of a new generation. So that potential is really that we want to see disseminating it as well in these rural areas. And that's where the advisory hub would come in. Again, identification of best practices, also the selection of projects to provide technical assistance in the development of the energy community projects, and of course afterwards also a project assessment and a promotion and dissemination of outcomes and lessons learned in a digestible manner across Europe. So these two initiatives we plan, these are pilot projects also in cooperation with the European Parliament. We plan to launch to step up the game at the regional level and to really make the most out of energy communities within the framework at European level. And aside from that, of course, and certainly of importance, are the calls that we are still, the calls for proposals on energy communities that we still plan under Horizon Europe and the Life Clean Energy Transition. One of them is also ongoing, which focuses on the collaboration between local authorities and energy communities. Local authorities can be a very important enabler for energy communities, whether it's through indirect support or being a direct participant of the energy community. I can post the link to the call as well in the chat. The deadline to apply is the 12th of January.
Okay, thank you. And that'd be great. And thank you for that. Thank you very much. And let me have a look. I have a couple more questions for each of you, and one of them is back to Stavroula. What do you think is missing at a societal level? I'm not sure to what extent people are aware of renewable energy communities, or what do you think at a societal level is needed? What change do we need to see an increase in this number?
Yes, thanks a lot, Lara. Indeed, that's also important to mention, because on the one side, it's very important to have a concrete legislation, but also access to information and raising awareness on the local society of what energy communities are, because it's a very new concept in a lot of countries. It's very important, and I can give you an example of our work on the Czech Republic, because the Czech Republic is a country that they don't have legislation on energy communities yet, though they have the government there have devoted some funding on energy communities, so they have the money but not the legislation yet. And in REScoop.eu we have already we went already there twice. Some of my colleagues went there for trainings. So we do capacity building with community leaders to show how community energy projects work, what things to consider in the group setup and project planning processes, and work with them what would be the best way for them to communicate with their own community. So we stick to the train the trainer principle. So planning trainings with local communities in order for them to be experts and disseminate this model. And what I can also share with you in the chat is a very interesting handbook we have created together with two other organizations at the European level, so Energy Synthesis and Friends of the Earth Europe. We have created a more practical handbook this time, so not about the legislation, that provides concrete advice and examples on how to set up an energy community. And it has examples from energy communities around Europe. I think this is very useful for people that want to set up an energy community and start the process. And we have translated this handbook into several languages. So it's Czech, French, Greek, Polish, and Spanish. And I think also the Dutch translation is coming out soon. I will send it in the chat. Or maybe Dick did already. I think he didn't. So I will share it in the chat so that people can check this guide, because I understand it's very important that you have such a useful material also in your own language for people to be able to understand. But also what I wanted to point out is that it's important for people to understand the impact that it will have if they organize themselves in an energy community. and if they produce their own energy. So, and that is in line with a potential study that we participated some time ago, and it was conducted by the University of Delft. And the number extracted from the study is that half of all the European citizens could be producing their own electricity by 2050.
Wow.
That means either individually or through the participation in an energy community, and meeting 45% of the European Union's energy demand. So I think that's a huge potential, and that's exactly what we're talking about when saying that we shouldn't leave anyone behind. And everyone should participate in the energy transition, and it's vital for everyone to participate. And I'm also happy to share this study with you. It's a bit old, it's from 2016, but it's still very, very much relevant, I would say.
Okay. Okay. Stavroula, can you just remind me of that estimation that you said by 2050?
Sure, yes. So the study concluded that half of the European Union citizens could be producing their own electricity by 2050. And that means that they could meet 45% of the European energy demand.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, fingers crossed. That's really, really great, really interesting. And okay. And I think, you briefly mentioned it, Achille, earlier on, but the EU obviously has some very ambitious objectives, for becoming the first carbon neutral continent by 2050, the EU Green Deal. And I wondered, to what extent could renewable energy communities contribute to this? But also, is it something that's thought of, that this would be a way of contributing towards these objectives? And also, just what are your views on these objectives? I'm curious to know.
Yeah, well, of course, we think energy communities can contribute to the many objectives that we set out under the EU Green Deal, and the way they contribute is by facilitating or tapping into the potential of people being actually a part of this, and also investing their private capital in making it happen and transition a bit faster and a bit more in a fair way. But I think what's the beauty of energy communities is that they offer a holistic approach. So yes, they can cover activities such as renewable energy production and supply, building renovation, providing flexibility services, energy efficiency actions, clean mobility. They can also boost energy literacy amongst their members and really changing their consciousness of the energy transition and as I like to say, transforming the energy consumer into an energy citizen, a citizen that takes up, that doesn't merely interact with energy just for the sake of consumption, but also understands the justice implications of energy consumption, production, and supply, and subsequently then takes on additional responsibilities in this regard. And given this holistic approach that energy communities have a potential of providing, they also holistically contribute to many of the strategies and objectives that we have set out, and they can support, for example, the energy system integration strategy by empowering consumers to become active and to contribute to the overall balance and flexibility of the system. And they can also contribute to the renovation wave by upscaling energy efficiency and saving initiatives. And we've seen quite recently, I've been also interacting with REScoop about this, citizen-led renovation projects are also happening already at this stage. And it really creates this opportunity for a one-stop shop provision for people who want to go and have their building renovated. And because you are a collective group, you have additional bargaining power. So it actually gives you a bit of leverage to potentially do it
in a slightly cheaper way. So there you see the contribution to system integration and renovation. We have also the European Climate Pact that really focuses on boosting citizen engagement through ambassadors and youth engagement strategies. So there we really want to recognize people that are doing something and empower them and give them a platform to also inspire others. And I think here, within that particular context, energy communities have a very important role to play. The people I spoke to that are more or less leading these projects, they are very inspirational, dedicated, passionate people that that very much believe in the objective that they want to achieve, which is an energy transition that also gives power to the people. I think that is in itself a very nice example of what type of people that we want to empower and give a platform through the European Climate Pact. And I know that these people will serve as an inspiration for others as well, if they can share their passion. And then, of course, the fourth one is this just transition aspect. Just transition is a very fluid concept, I would say. There are levels of justice in different groups of people, and it's not only per se related to energy poverty. It also goes to procedural fairness. And this relates to this movement of energy democracy. How are decisions made within the community? Is it in a transparent way? Is the information that is provided, is it done in a timely manner, in a comprehensive manner? All of these pillars of democracy, they feature in the decision making of these energy community projects and will ultimately determine to what extent they are just. Just to give an indication that it's not only about this energy poverty, that where we see energy communities contribute to a just transition. It's also wider than that. And it's also not a given at all times that these initiatives will actually really deliver on energy justice on the ground. That will very much depend on how they do decision making and how they decide to subsequently also allocate the benefits between their members. But if I may close with the energy poverty aspect, I already mentioned it in the beginning. We do hope to see energy communities taking up a role here. We see a potential, but the caveats that I mentioned earlier should be repeated here as well. We should be taking into account that energy communities have limited financial resources at their disposal, which limits their capacity to address this particular issue. And and in addition, energy communities might not always be aware of what it means, what energy poverty as a concept means. It might not be their primary objective, and they might not have interacted with it too many times. So here it's if we want to see a role for these energy communities, as regard energy poverty, this consciousness level needs to be raised. And the financial capacity should perhaps also be considered expanded or supported from the government level if they really want to push energy communities in this direction. So that would be how I see energy communities within the wider EU Green Deal. So we have system integration, we have renovation, we have citizen mobilization as part of the Climate Pact, and we have the just transition with energy poverty as a key principle there, but also potentially going beyond that and really thinking about the concept of energy justice from a three-tenant perspective, recognition, procedural, and distributive justice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Really, really interesting, your responses. So thank you very much. And I'm also really, really enjoying the chat. There are a lot of interesting materials or links being shared. I said documentary just got shared now, and I see that there's quite an international audience. We have one participant from India sharing his ideas. So thank you very much. Very interesting inputs. I'll look a little bit at some of the questions that have been shared here. So, sorry, let me have a quick look. There's one second where to go. Okay, I think to Achille was one that came a little while ago. You mentioned the enabling regulatory framework, and someone was asking for a little bit more examples about that, examples of renewable energy communities in Europe. Within that framework. Sorry if that makes sense.
Yeah, I already saw this question and I was kind of anticipating it. Okay. So I'm sharing my screen
okay.
Right now. Whether that's going to be I think Stavroula might be better suited to at this stage, because I cannot disclose much about transposition, etc. But this is some of the information I collected before that, and I'm not saying it's good transposition or bad transposition. I'm just giving it as an example. But to start with the enabling framework, I think as it relates to renewable energy communities, because their governance structure is more limited, so it allows a fewer diversity of actors to participate. So it's limited to SMEs, to local authorities and natural persons. And then when it comes to effective control, they also need to be located in proximity of the production installation. So that's why they're local energy communities. Now, the fact that they're a bit more close and a bit more local than the citizen energy communities justifies that they have these additional, we call it privileges. And Stavroula also already mentioned them early, or some of them at least. We have this access to financial instruments and information. We have these customized support schemes, which actually translates in taking into account the specificities of the renewable energy communities when designing support schemes. So take into account that they have less financial capacity, for example, and that could then subsequently translate in a reduction in security, financial security deposit prior to participating to these auctions, just to give an example. Then we have the removal of unjustified barriers and the regulatory and capacity building support to public authorities. These are the main privileges, I think, that are worth noting as regards to renewable energy communities, and to give you a bit more of an idea of what that looks like in terms of enabling framework. And then we have some, I'll show you this one. I think it was also identified in the toolbox by REScoop as a good practice. But then again, I'm not saying that this is a good transposition of the directive, but you have this example in Ireland. So tools to facilitate access to finance and information. There they have this sustainable energy community program in place, and I know that Spain is thinking of doing something similar, and it has a threefold approach: learn, plan, do. Learn, you come together, you visit workshops, you speak with people that already developed communities or that are interested, and you start building a network for your community projects. Then plan, you can create a master plan where the authority that is managing this program also gives the opportunity to provide to get some technical support on the development of such a plan. So really designing the business plan, determining your location of your technology, getting your permits, how do you go about it? Like, you can get more information on that in this phase. Again, this is something that I also saw featuring in this this guide that REScoop made, really this stepwise approach to setting up your own energy community. So definitely of interest to go look there if you want some more information on actually how to go about it. And then that's a stage where the plan gets executed, and then you can get also additional guidance from the authority to apply for financing opportunities and to really materialize the project itself. So that is an example of how it could look like, an implementation of one of these privileges that we allocate to renewable energy communities. I would stop there. I'm sure Stavroula has something to add on this as well.
Sure, thanks a lot, Achille. Maybe I can briefly add something on this. So there are specific requirements on how an enabling framework would look like on the provisions. The one for renewable energy communities is a more extensive in my respect. And Achille already explained and showed you on the slides what are the requirements set there. And the one on citizen energy communities is more about developing a level playing field for them to participate in the market. In terms of good examples, the Irish scheme is, there is also, they have developed a support scheme that has specific provisions for renewable energy communities. So that's a good point there. And there is also the Scottish Care scheme that it's worth checking, that has a more holistic approach, but still at this time, I can say that there is no best example of an enabling framework like completely developed in a member state that is in line with the European provisions. The one that I showed you before, so the transposition tracker is focusing on the definitions and not on the enabling frameworks, but we are following up also the transposition process of the enabling frameworks, and we will be the first to highlight any best examples coming from member states on that. But yeah, at the moment, I would also agree with the Irish example and the Scottish one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both for that. We have another question from Romain Manger, and he says that I have the impression that the focus of many communities is to produce energy from renewable energy sources and to deploy storage. These are, of course, important, but what is actually the place of energy efficiency and sufficient energy savings in the community's actions? What are your views on that? Stavroula, what do you think? She says, especially from the experience of REScoop, but I'm sure both of you might have something to say.
Yes, I can start with this. Thanks, Romain, for the question. Indeed, most of our members and a lot of our members are developing renewable energy projects. They're supplying renewable energy, but there are a lot of members also active, for example, in other activities, for example, the e-mobility. We have developed the Mobility Factory, which is a network, let's say, of energy cooperatives that are working and they are active in e-mobility. And they have developed an app where people can use for e-car sharing. So there are a lot of our members active on flexibility, providing flexibility services, storage also. And in terms of energy efficiency, indeed there are less of our members that that are working on this. This is also closely connected to what Achille mentioned before in the citizen-led renovation. And we have recently created an internal working group on citizen-led renovation, and some of our members are participating there. And I could give the example of an Irish energy cooperative, the Tipperary, that are very much active on that. And they have a lot of examples on this field. But I also want to mention that in order for energy communities I feel that there is a lot that energy communities can do also in this field, but they also need some support in order to be able to participate more actively on the energy efficiency services. And what are we advocating at the moment in the context of the Fit for 55 proposals introduced, released some time ago from the Commission? What we're advocating for in terms of the Energy Efficiency Directive is to have some supportive provisions there. First of all, acknowledging the role that energy communities can play also in this field, and have some supporting provisions in there for both energy efficiency and then the energy poverty provisions. And what we would like to see is having a more synergistic approach between the Energy Efficiency Directive and the EPPD, so Energy Performance on Building Directive, and the Renewable Energy Directive, on acknowledging the role of energy communities. I think also Achille mentioned this more holistic approach before. I can send you some examples in the chats for that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll jump in as well then. First of all, it's good to well, not hear, but indirectly hear from Romain. He was actually my thesis supervisor.
Wow.
And I think
For both of
Stavroula,
us.
yeah,
For
exactly.
both of us.
Yeah.
So greetings, Romain.
So very nice for you to join as well. I think if we look from energy communities in relation to energy efficiency, what I gathered as examples of such services are free of charge energy saving checkups for the members, energy saving tips and tricks that are being provided, a shopping guide to energy efficient appliances. I think that one was from EcoPower even. A mobile application that helps to manage energy consumption and saving, energy auditing services, and consumption monitoring. So these are just to give you a hunch of how that could look like in terms of energy efficiency actions. For building renovations, I think Stavroula said the most important things already. And I also hinted at it earlier in my reply, that they can be involved in the renovation process and the governance of these renovation projects. It could give them the leverage to bargain for a better deal, as they come in a collective. But they can also be a vehicle that provides trustworthy advice to the local citizens. As it is an institution, it's an initiative embedded in the community. They will benefit from increased credibility, and therefore also be in a unique position to really convince citizens to invest in building renovation. So I think that those are very important roles that energy communities can play also in terms of building renovation.
Okay. Well, thank you. I just have one last question that's come in directly, which is the famous issue of, I think it's referred to as NIMBY, right? Not in my backyard. And this idea that many people are, that's a good idea, renewable energy, but actually, they're reluctant to have wind turbines near them, or to have their house covered in solar panels. So what is your view on this? Do you think this is something that's disappearing over time? Is it something that's still relevant? And how do you think we can make this change? Yeah, what are your views on that? I don't know if you want to start, Stavroula.
Sure, I can start. That is connected to the social benefit of the first discussion we had on the social acceptance of renewable energy projects and renewable energy in general. And so there is a huge opposition on renewable energy in a lot of countries, but this also that's also happening in Greece, which is my country of origin, because people are protesting, I think, also in terms of how renewable energy is being exploited, because big companies are developing projects without any consultation with the local, with the people living nearby, without any information on that we are going to develop this project. And that's the exact opposite of what I mentioned before. So, and that's one of the main reasons why community energy, renewable energy projects have a higher social acceptance, because they involve citizens. They are actually made from citizens participating in the whole process. There is a lot of effort being made on raising awareness on the importance of renewable energy, the contribution, and then they can see also that all the benefits from these projects stay on the local level. So also the economic benefits stay in the local level, and they have a reason to be proud of this project. And me myself, I think it's better to understand this when you become actually a member of such a community. So I also joined last year an energy community in Athens, in Greece, Hyperion. And when participating actively from the whole process and participating in the decision making of developing such a project and following the project from the beginning till the end and seeing all the benefits that it has, both economic and environmental, and also, for example, we are now going to provide some free renewable electricity to vulnerable consumers nearby. So at the end, not only you totally get the benefits, but you are also proud of what you're doing and proud of the project that you're participating in. So and that's also very much connected with the survey I sent in the first place, conducted by the ECF, and it shows that, like, I will just mention one percentage that I find very important, is that support for onshore wind farms increases to 76% when communities are engaged. So through the creation of local jobs, shared profits and ownership, and planning and nature protection consultations. And that was taken from countries also coming from the Balkans, that in Greece, for example, Romania and Bulgaria, there is a lot of opposition to renewable energy. Mm-hmm. So people, when they understand that they can participate in that, there is an increased social acceptance. I do urge you to check this study. It's very interesting.
Okay, so thank you both for that. Just a couple
of things. Can I jump in on that as well?
Sorry, Achille, I'm sorry.
No issue at all. I would say, is the not in my backyard syndrome here to stay? To answer the question, I would say when the issue of climate change becomes more pressing and local weather events keep increasing and directly impacting people, it will raise the consciousness of people about this issue as well, and about the need for renewable energy installations and additional infrastructure to accommodate their integration. So we have to take that into account, that will have a positive impact on people's attitudes towards these installations, towards renewable energy. Now, that being said, on the other hand, the easily exploitable, the easy to exploit locations are becoming increasingly scarce. So we actually are moving towards with the open playing fields, or the open grass fields, where you can just put a windmill and bother no one, or a solar PV park. That is becoming increasingly scarce. So we are interacting increasingly with populations with this technology. And so taking that into account, there is a bit of a, we can expect that we need social acceptance, and we can expect that not in my backyard syndrome will still be a prominent issue that will be with us for some time, and that we will need to address amongst others through these energy communities and providing this opportunity to participate in decision making and to reap the benefits of these projects as well.
Yeah. So I think that's, yeah, it's still a big challenge, but hopefully, as you say, as that could be one of the roles of renewable energy communities. If people are involved, then they become supportive of it, and then like some of us, they get excited when they see it. Fields of wind turbines, but yeah, hopefully, as awareness is raised, then that will reduce. We shall see. And okay, just to say this, I'm sorry I get distracted because the chat is becoming very interesting and there are a lot of interesting resources being shared. So take a look. Doug, thank you. A lot of articles and documentaries and things. So do take a look. One of the participants has been asking if they can have some sort of contact details for the two of you. So I don't know if you could just drop in here contact details for them to use, perhaps. Super. Yeah, thank you both. And so I think I'll start closing up. So thank you, all of you, to the flagship cases for their experiences, and also for the two of you with your insights on the policy elements and institutional action. So yeah, thank you. I feel like I've definitely learned a lot in the past couple of hours. So so thank you for that. And I'm just going to end with a couple of little comments from the ETU initiative, because we have some very interesting things coming up. We'll be working until the end of this year with the flagship cases, but then as of January, we're really just focusing on mainstreaming the toolbox, really encouraging other municipalities to start doing the same, to start implementing the tools to support their projects. And one of the things we'll be beginning now, as of January especially, is really promoting what we call a letter of commitment. And that's a very free and simple process for any organization that's interested in the energy transition. So that could be it could be a municipality, but it could also be a research center, a company, SME, really NGO, any sort of community that's interested in the energy transition can sign this letter as just a way to show their support, to show that they are committed to seeing this through, to being part of the transition. And in return, they become part of this international network of signatories. And other like-minded organizations, they receive some visibility, some of the tools, and also some promotional material, like a nice certificate. Yeah, we're part of the energy transition. So bear that in mind. And if any of you think your organization could be interested, then all the information is on our website, which is EUSEW.eu. So that's something to all bear in mind if you found this interesting today. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to share with you at the end. So thank you, everybody, for people that have attended, people that have spoken. And I think I'll just close with our slogan. And the ETU slogan, if you've heard it, is "Together we will create a resilient future." So thank you all. I'm seeing it going in that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.